Good morning and welcome back to Withrow Urban Homestead. Today we're going to continue our mid-June garden tour here along the right-hand side of the garden. Two days ago we started along here and I showed you what was going on in the left-hand side of the garden. Then yesterday, we visited the grandkids' garden out here in the alleyway. Now we're going to explore the other half of the garden back here. Now remember, from the first garden tour in early June, there's a sunflower growing behind this door, and it gets blocked whenever I'm outside working, but it's still growing. Let me show you. Now I like planting my strawberries along the edge because it makes it easier to harvest fruit and to check for runners to trim off. But this area was too thick. So recently I dug them all up, potted them up. In this small area, there were so many baby plants, and that's the reason our strawberries have become so small. So it's really hot right now from a heat wave, and it might not be the best time to pot up these strawberries, but we'll see how they do. I got 94 plants from just this 5 to 6 foot strip. That's way too many. Now, did you notice on the shelf that I was giving away free strawberries? Those were growing along here. And they were blocking the carrots and just really not getting enough sun to fruit. So 2 or 3 weeks ago, I potted them up and they've developed roots. So I'm ready to give them away to my neighbors. And I'm going to do the same with all of these. Share them with the community. The moringa is loving the heat. Up until last week, we were still having nights below 60, and that's why some of the leaves are yellow. But now with this heat wave, green growth has emerged, and these things are just going to get taller and taller really quickly, because in the next 2 weeks, we're going to be in the 90s, which isn't normal here for June. Now here are our purple cosmic carrots, and they're doing really well. I do keep these watered every day. I don't let them dry out. So we had 2 sowings, and the first sowing in this area hopefully will be ready this month. And the little second area, maybe a month and a half after that. And notice the flower in the middle from our fall carrot, making seeds. This netting dome protects them from digging animals. And by the way, I do need to weed in here. Last year's onion It's done flowering. And now the seed pods have emerged. But they're not ready yet. They're still green. I am big on saving seeds. And here's our fall beets. And the seeds are so close to being ready. Both the onions and the beets have to go through 2 seasons. They have to go through the winter to make seeds. And all along here are our blackberries. Now they've got a little bit of pink and going to be ready in a few weeks. All of the beets we planted along here in March have been harvested. This gives us access for harvesting the blackberries. Now, do you see these tall blackberry canes? Those are for next year's berries. I'm letting them grow really tall and zip tying them to the trellis and then letting them flop over, and I'm going to root them in pots. And then snip them off to make new plants and share with my community. Because the tips, when they touch soil, will develop roots. And here's where I tied them to the trellis, and I'll cut that off. I need to get these zip tied up. And here are red acres cabbages. And the middle are forming heads. So let's get this open so we can see it better. We need to feel the heads. Are they firming up? They're still small, but they are tight. And look, blackberries look much better. I took care of those canes. The fall cabbage going to seed, they're almost ready. Just like the onions and the beets, they have to go through the cold winter. And I protected them below 25 degrees. Eventually, the raspberries are going to fill out this area. Probably next year or the year after. But for now, I'm growing lemon cucumbers and 1 sunflower. And I see we have our first fruit. Here we have 2 stevia plants. Look, the catbird's back. It loves that jelly feeder. Anyway, once these cabbage seeds are harvested, we'll take out this plant. It'll give these stevia room to bush out. And when I'm finished filming, I'm going to do a harvest, and we're going to harvest some of this. That'll help it to bush out also. And here are our basil. I like to have these near the kitchen. The stevia too. They really would prefer more sun because this area gets shaded from the raspberry some, but they'll get big enough for me. And along this strip, I tend to grow lettuce. And we have some radishes. Again, easy access to the kitchen, and more shade helps the lettuce last longer. Now these two sunflowers in this area haven't opened yet, and they are smaller because they get less sun, but near the balcony where we can watch the birds, because the goldfinch will flock to these sunflowers. That's the biggest reason I grow them. Then all along here are our red raspberries, and right now they're in fruit. And they're going to fruit again in the fall. They're also sending up new young canes, and that's going to be where the fall fruit develops. So it's different from the blackberries. So the fruit right now was on the canes that were there in the fall last year. They fruited last fall and this spring, and the ones growing right now will fruit in the fall and then next spring. The canes the fruit is currently on, they're going to die back, and I'll cut them out. You have to know the habits of your plants. Yesterday I made a really big harvest of the raspberries, but by this afternoon, more are going to be ripe from the heat. And down here is my second mini rose. I rescued it from the cemetery. It was almost dead with no leaves, but look, it has some buds. The other one too. 2 days ago when I filmed, I didn't notice the bud, but now it's starting to open. Come back tomorrow where we're going to tour the side garden, what we call Bumblebee Breezeway. Thank you for visiting Withrow Urban Homestead. See you later. Bye-bye.